Look at the figure on your screen, $847 million. It is not your money, and it likely never will be. You are simply the ghost tasked with modeling its future. It is 11:47 at night, and your pitch book is due at 6 in the morning. You have been awake for 19 consecutive hours. The low hum of the Bloomberg terminal is the only sound in the room, and your coffee has long since turned ice cold. Your mind drifts to slide 34, specifically the discounted cash flow assumptions your vice president labeled as overly aggressive. You tear down the model and rebuild it from scratch. You shift the discount rate by a mere 50 basis points, and the entire valuation moves. You highlight the change and fire off the email. Then, you wait in silence. No one will respond until the sun comes up. This is the life you chose. In this building, you are a function rather than a person. You generate outputs, slide decks, models, and research memos. You are not invited to client calls or high-stakes negotiations. Instead, you sit at a mahogany desk on the 31st floor of a glass skyscraper in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. You tell yourself this is necessary. Everyone starts in the trenches because the work builds a solid foundation. While you are gaining knowledge, you are also sacrificing sleep, relationships, and 30% of your 20s. Somewhere in this same tower, people are taking home $4 million a year. You understand at a biological level that being close to capital is no accident. It is a status that must be earned. You are building that expertise now, one spreadsheet at a time. Eventually, you earn a promotion and your title changes, but your hours remain the same. Your base salary hits $150,000 and your bonus brings the total to $250,000. You start to carry yourself differently. Now you are present on client calls. You do not speak. You simply listen and take meticulous notes. You hear the chief financial officer of a $6 billion corporation ask about options for restructuring their debt. Your vice president explains the details of a high-yield bond issuance. Even though the terms feel predatory, you remain silent. You are learning that deals are not just about raw data. They are built on relationships, leverage, and perfect timing. Your boss controls the first three, while you only control the model. You begin to realize that the deal flow at a bank like this is never random. The trust required to move these sums was built 15 years ago during private dinners or on trading floors. You are still standing outside that inner circle, but you are watching every move. You finally close your first major deal, a $340 million debt refinancing. Your name is nowhere to be found in the press release, though your managing director is mentioned prominently. You receive a $15,000 spot bonus and a firm handshake. You convince yourself that this is normal, and you are mostly right. By the age of 31, you have secured the title of vice president and a corner office. 2 junior analysts now report to you, and you know exactly how miserable their nights are. You are no longer just supporting deals, you are running them. You manage the client relationships directly. You take charge of middle market mandates, $500 million recapitalizations, and sell-side engagements. You draft the engagement letters and negotiate the final fees. Your name is on the paperwork. On a $600 million transaction, the fee is roughly $6 million. You keep none of it, as it simply flows into your division's profit and loss statement. But you are still building your empire. You are starting to understand what real leverage feels like, and it is much quieter than you imagined. You fly to Houston, Dubai, and Singapore. You eat at the world's most expensive restaurants. In this industry, the things that truly matter are rarely spoken aloud in a room full of people. This year, you make your first moral compromise. Nothing illegal, just a decision in a gray area. You know the acquisition is overpriced, yet you say nothing. The deal closes, and your bank pockets $12 million in fees. 6 months later, the acquisition begins to fail. You do not feel any guilt. Instead, you feel like you finally understand the rules of the game. Now, the title on your door reads Managing Director. The figure floating in your head is $85 million. You no longer touch financial models. You call chief executive officers directly. Your calendar is a relentless sequence of board meetings and private discussions. The chief financial officer of a massive utility company takes your call on a Sunday morning because that is what your title commands. An infrastructure fund in Abu Dhabi answers on the second ring because that is what access looks like. You structure a $3.8 billion leveraged buyout and close it in 90 days. You collect 2% of the value before the ink is even dry, then move to the next target. You have 2 key relationships that you protect above all else. They are not friendships, but rather leveraged structures disguised as social bonds. Everyone involved knows this, but no one ever admits it. You are so close to the flow of information that your instincts have become structurally different from everyone else's. It is not against the law, it is simply asymmetric information. You stopped apologizing for this advantage a long time ago. You sleep 6 hours a night and see your family only when a deal isn't in its closing phase. You haven't felt a single nerve about a transaction in 3 years. You aren't sure if that is pure confidence or total numbness. You always make your exit before the debt covenants start causing issues. Finally, you leave the banking world behind. You join a private equity firm managing $12 billion in assets. Your carried interest will be worth between $40 and $90 million if the fund performs well. You stop thinking about a base salary altogether. You are no longer an advisor. You are a deployer of capital. If you want to master the world of high-level finance and wealth management just like this, make sure to follow Billy Finance for the most tactical insights on the market. You take controlling positions in companies and sit on 6 different boards. Your portfolio companies employ 14,000 people in total. You have never met the majority of those 14,000 workers. You oversee a $2.1 billion acquisition of a healthcare platform with 65% leverage. You structure the deal so the management team takes the operational hit while the fund captures all the growth. It is perfectly legal and entirely standard for the industry. The company will eventually cut 800 jobs in 18 months. You are not the one who delivers that news. The chief executive officer handles that while you run the board call. You use corporate language like right-sizing and operational leverage to insulate yourself. Your fund raises its next vehicle at $17.5 billion. It is oversubscribed. Your partners include sovereign wealth funds and massive pension funds you will never actually meet. Individual transactions feel insignificant now as you start thinking about the system as a whole. You are no longer a banker, and while you aren't sure what to call yourself, you are never going back. Now your fund manages $6.3 billion in assets dedicated to trading. You trade global currencies, sovereign debt, and complex derivatives. You are long on the dollar and short on the Turkish lira. You have been quietly building a volatility position on Japanese government bonds for 8 months. No one on the outside has any idea. When the Bank of Japan shifts its policy, your thesis is proven correct. In 1 week, your fund nets $380 million. You feel absolutely nothing as you move to the next position. There was one regulatory investigation in your past, but nothing was found. The process only taught you that regulators are always looking at what has already happened. You are busy looking at what is about to happen. You now possess political access, not because you looked for it, but because your partners fund the people in power. A former Treasury official joins your board, and you pay him to align your financial thesis with government policy. You haven't spoken to your old college roommate in 4 years. There was no fight. You just moved in completely different directions. He earns $90,000 a year as an engineer, and you simply don't know how to talk to him anymore. This bothers you far less than it probably should. You haven't lost anything you can put a name to, which is the most accurate way to describe your transformation. You sit on the board of a $90 billion sovereign wealth fund. You don't execute trades anymore. You set the entire mandate. You decide which global markets will receive capital. When your fund moves, the ripple effects hit the markets before the news is even public. You are the news. You have a direct line to finance ministers and central bank governors who treat you as an equal. You restructure $14.7 billion in emerging market debt over 18 months. You do this in coordination with 2 other funds, and no one outside that small group sees the full picture. When a nation signals distress, you are already positioned before the credit agencies can issue a downgrade. You are not trading on secrets. You are operating with a level of foresight that looks like magic. You haven't used a public cash machine in 6 years. You have a security detail for all your travels. You do not speak at public panels or give interviews. Your communication happens through private dinners in Geneva, Singapore, and Riyadh. Nothing is ever recorded or written down afterward. Your name appeared on a wealth list once, and you used an intermediary to ensure it never happens again. Privacy, freedom, and human connection were not things you lost. They were things you chose to exchange. You don't need a title anymore. Your name is on a trust that owns a holding company. That holding company owns stakes in 17 financial institutions across 9 different countries. While some positions are public, most are hidden through offshore structures. Technically, you are just a private individual. You haven't placed a trade yourself in 11 years. You make the decisions, and 6 highly vetted people execute them. All 6 have signed non-disclosure agreements that would ruin their lives if broken. They possess the kind of resources that can weather even the most aggressive legal battles. They never speak of this power openly. Across the globe, a central bank in Southeast Asia is preparing to shift its interest rates. You knew this was coming 21 days ago. It was not because someone whispered it in your ear. It was because you have decoded the hidden rhythm of the world until you can read the moves before they are even made. Your stake in active funds currently sits at a value of approximately $2,400,000,000. You have a family, and you love them with whatever small piece of yourself you have managed to keep. You own a beautiful home right on the water. You see your relatives during the holidays. You stopped trusting your own desires a very long time ago. You are not happy, but you are not sad either. Those simple human categories dissolved somewhere around the fifth level of your ascent. They were replaced by a permanent orientation toward the landscape. Your mind is a constant calculation of capital against potential risk. You no longer have any idea what you would do if you ever walked away. So you simply do not stop. Far below your office, a 23-year-old man walks through the lobby of a glass tower in the heart of Manhattan. He logs into his professional terminal for the very first time and sits perfectly still for a moment. He believes this entire world is built on money. He is already completely wrong. It was never actually about the money. It was always about the invisible architecture beneath the surface. The machine never stops. It simply searches for new people to keep it running. Make sure to subscribe to Billy Finance for more deep dives into the world of wealth. Thank you for watching, and please share your thoughts in the comments below.